K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks, we are live. It is Saturday morning, February 28th, last day of February, and meteorologically speaking, the last day of winter. Mother Nature would probably disagree with that statement because meteorology, supposedly, weather-wise, is supposed to be the first day of spring tomorrow. I'm not holding my breath because we're snowing like crazy where I am. Anyway, I am joined today by two of our regular co-hosts. Dave, my usual partner in crime, is going to be hanging out with us. At least for a little bit. Not sure how long he's going to be able to hang out. But then Bryce is going to be with me as well. So for the moment, I am a little bit outnumbered, but that's not a big deal.
And, okay, now I got to correct you, sir. Today, meteorology. God damn, that is a hard word to say. It is not. It's not the first day of spring. It's not the last day of winter. That happens at the spring equinox, which this year is on March 20th.
Well, I was just going off of what some weather dude idiot said, at the beginning of a show I was listening to a minute ago. So, don't blame me. Blame the weather guy.
Was it one of the biggies? Was it Gary? Was it Mike? Was it one of the?
It's Saturday morning. Ain't none of those fuckers on the air.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, it's got to be Obama's fault.
It must be.
Dude, everything's Obama's fault. Come on.
Unless you're Obama, then everything's Bush's fault or the Republicans' fault. Because no one can ever take responsibility for anything anymore. It's awesome.
All right. So, I guess, because we are only going to do an hour, there is something I want to do real quick. I don't know. I mean, I know, Dave, you're a fairly big Star Trek fan. We've talked about it before. Bryce, I'm not sure about you, but I have to say, really sad news for me yesterday. And actually, I've been a little out of sorts, believe it or not. I mean, I don't know the guy personally. I've never met him. But I spent a vast majority of my childhood, whether it be on the original series, Next Generation, movies, or any of his other roles that he's done. Because believe it or not, Leonard Nimoy did do more than Star Trek, but most people don't really realize that. But, we lost somebody that was pretty special yesterday. So, did take a few minutes to put together kind of a little bit of a tribute. Now, I'm not going to take all the credit for it because all I really did was take some of my favorite little bits and pieces of a couple of different things that he's done recently, Star Trek related, and then, of course, a quote that someone else put together. So we're going to let that run here for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll actually get started with the actual meat of the show. So we'll get that queued up here real quick.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Their ongoing mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Of my friend, I can only say this. Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, His was the most human.
I believe in living a creative life. You are the creators and the curators of your own lives. You create your own life and your work. Give us your best. Give us the best of your art. We crave it. We hunger for it. Help us to see ourselves, to know ourselves. Illuminate our lives. And keep in mind what Victor Hugo said, popularity is the crumbs of greatness. I cannot leave without saying to you, in all sincerity, live long and prosper.
All right, so just a little bit of a tribute there to Mr. Nimoy. Now, one of the things that I've noticed seems to happen quite a bit, at least recently, I always kind of get the idea that maybe some of these folks that have been fighting stuff for a while, they kind of get the feeling of when it's about time, because his last tweet was a little odd. He tweeted something, I believe it was Monday night, that life is like a garden. Great moments cannot be held forever, but they can be preserved in memory. And then he ended with his normal thing of live long and prosper. It just seems kind of eerie as his last tweet ever right before he passes. I don't know. But
yeah, the first little bit on your clip there was that was from the Star Trek reboot movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the very
because that's
end.
not the one that was from Wrath of Khan.
No.
Because the one at the end of Wrath of Khan is really, really powerful. Because if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where at the very end he says, "Where no man," and then changed it to "Where no one has gone before." Was it that one or was it crap?
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten that he actually did that at the end of Wrath of Khan. The only one that I could find that had his voice in it was the one from 2009.
Yeah, well, both good. Yeah, this has had me pretty sad as well. It didn't quite like knock my socks off like when Mr. Rogers passed away, but Mr. Rogers was such a huge part of my childhood. But yeah, Star Trek was honestly a big influence on my life. A lot of the way I look at humanity's potential and our potential future comes straight from the mind of Gene Roddenberry, because he gave us, what was that, 40 years ago? He gave us this picture of this future where, you know, not everyone was white, and hell, not everyone was human. And they all worked together for a common goal, and people took care of each other. And it was, it was really inspiring. And otherwise, it wouldn't have taken off and become what it has become if it hadn't been as inspiring as it is. And yeah, to lose Leonard Nimoy and to lose that man's voice is just, we're worse off than we were a few days ago.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw something that kind of really drove the point home, because, you know, there were all these scenes in the original series with, like, DeForest Kelley and William Shatner, and then Leonard Nimoy always sitting around the little conference room table, and somebody put together one at the top with those three sitting together, and then one at the bottom with just Kirk still sitting there, and it basically was a picture tribute to the passing of not only Leonard Nimoy, but now also DeForest Kelley. And it just, I don't know. I mean,
how many of that original cast are left? George Takei is still around. Shatner, Walter Koenig.
Nichelle Nichols is still around, I think.
Yeah, Uhura, Nichelle Nichols. But DeForest Kelley's gone. Leonard Nimoy's gone. James Doohan passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, he passed away quite some time ago.
Yeah, so Scotty's gone. So pretty much we've got Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura, and that's really it, because the main cast, it was the 6 of them. Wow, that's That's sad. So, Bryce, have you ever been a fan of Star Trek? Ever watched it at all?
Honestly, I've always been a fan of Star Wars, but my girlfriend has always been obsessed with Star Trek, and I can't tell you how many times we argue about which one is better. But for these past couple of days, I've just been like, take your time to grieve about this one. So,
well, the thing is that they're so incredibly different.
You're right.
Because really, at the end of the day, Star Wars is an epic fantasy that happens to take place in space. Star Trek is a straight-up science fiction.
You're right. It's all about adventure and seeking out like the new. And I think that it has inspired so many people and inventions. And I don't think, and the fact that it was a TV show, it like that just makes it all the much better that every week it would come on. And I have to give it up to Star Trek for that, because I can't imagine if there was never a Star Trek, how many people wouldn't have been inspired by it, because they had the phone, they had, well, before Google Glass failed, I mean, they had Google Glass, they had all of these inventions that, you know, the people who invented them probably saw it from Star Trek.
And you think about tablets. I mean, that's something straight out of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
You're right. Yeah.
And the whole touchscreen thing. I mean, I just have memories of Data typing on those things like crazy. Which, yeah. You know, when they were filming, he probably wasn't punching anything. He was just blah, 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 moving his hands all over, trying to make it look cool.
But yeah, a dirty little secret of mine is, you know, a couple years back, I finally upgraded to a smartphone. I kept my flip phone forever only because every time I ever answered the phone, I kind of imagined I was James Kirk.
That's great. Yeah. You know, and the other thing, though, with Star Trek, I will say, and this is coming from someone who has loved both franchises. Overall, I think Star Trek has been more consistent. I mean, sure, with the original cast, you had the every other movie sucked thing. And even to some extent with the Next Gen in the movies, it was kind of every other one was fantastic and the others were meh.
It was still basically the same rule. Even numbered Trek films don't suck.
Right. But you know, that J.J. Abrams kind of changed that, because the first Star Trek, which was an odd-numbered film, was fantastic. And I would then say that also Into Darkness was also fantastic. That depends on who you talk to.
Because there were people that hated both of them. But those are the purists that couldn't get by with the whole, or couldn't get their head wrapped around the fact that somebody decided to do an alternate timeline. And I'm like, dude, that's the only way you could even try to keep Star Trek fans happy, because look at the uproar over Enterprise when they started monkeying with the original timeline, and everybody's like, there's no crater in the middle of planet Earth. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. They had to do that, and they did it brilliantly, and I think they really held to the core of the characters, and they've brought new twists to them, and I think it's done a good job. But so we compare that with Star Wars. So the original Star Wars trilogy, epic, amazing, until of course it was re-edited, and Hayden Christensen's mug was put in there at the end of Return of the Jedi, and they made Billy D. Williams look like he had no rhythm, which is physically impossible. But we won't talk about that.
I must interject there. When I was little, I remember watching the remade Episode 6, and Hayden Christensen's ghost was there. And I was like so confused. I was like, wait a minute. That was made in like the 1978, but he was only around in 2005 in the newest movie. How is that possible?
Yeah,
and that I realized, but
that honestly, that cut only makes sense if you watch all 6 movies together in like a marathon. And to be fair to Lucas, if you do sit down and watch all 6 movies together, that ending makes sense. Doesn't make it good, because it's not good. The only good things that he did in those edits were, one, I kind of liked the toppling of the Palpatine statue. I thought that was kind of cool. A lot of the stuff they did in Empire with Cloud City, turning the walls into windows, that stuff looked really cool. What they did with the Hoth monster thing, Bigfoot thingy-mabobber, the extra stuff they did with him was cool.
Thingy-mabobber.
Beyond that, no. The thing they did with the Sarlacc pit was awful.
Not really to stray away from Star Trek here, because I don't want to get away from Leonard Nimoy. But I mean, what do you think about the next Star Wars movie? Do you think it'll be good or bad?
Yeah, you know, I'm
50-50 shot.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, because the prequels were so bad, and I remember seeing Phantom Menace and walking out of it thinking, I didn't
mind the third one, the Revenge of the Sith. I liked that one.
You know, that had some good moments. I will still say that of the three of those, I think Attack of the Clones is by far the worst, and that is all on the shoulders of Hayden Christensen's horrible acting.
Yeah.
And to be fair, apparently George Lucas told him to act like that. George Lucas should never direct. He should come up with great concepts and let other people execute them. He's proven this time and time again. He's a big picture guy, not a minutia guy. But you know, I'm hopeful. J.J. Abrams has proven himself to be basically brilliant. I mean, the Star Trek films were great. Alias is one of my top 3 favorite TV shows of all time. The first season of Lost, which is the only one I saw, but it was really good. So he has a proven track record with things, and we'll see. I still wonder that lightsaber with the extra things on the end, how this fool's not chopping their hand off.
Oh, dude. I saw the funniest thing about that because I was looking around and stuff last night when I was looking for the tribute stuff, and some of it, of course, they always intermingle Star Wars and Star Trek stuff on YouTube. So I clicked on something that said it was the second trailer, and it turns out to be a spoof that somebody made, and it starts out with the lightsaber with the extra handles, and then it cuts over to the Jedi guy that I guess is supposed to be playing Luke because he kind of looks like him. And he puts on these goggles and gets a welder out, and he starts making all these improvements to his lightsaber. And then he hits a button, and it has little handles. And then by the end of the whole thing, they've got their little lightsabers. And it's like turning into this lightsaber balloon duel thing because they keep hitting buttons, and it keeps changing what it looks like. And then eventually, you got to see it. It was kind of hilarious, but it's hard to describe on radio.
You know what? People thought the same thing about Darth Maul when he had the double-ended lightsaber. So I won't knock it until I see it.
Well, okay, that's a fair point. When I saw the double-bladed lightsaber, my first thought is, okay, he's going to fight like it is a long staff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how he used it. And I will say the Duel of Fates with him, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan is by far, hands down, the best lightsaber battle ever filmed.
I hate what you did. No.
Really? I loved that.
I wanted it to be a little more dramatic.
I don't know. I mean, well, you've got Ray Park in there who's an actual martial artist. And if that didn't look good, then obviously George Lucas needs to hang it up, because when you've got someone out there who's that good, it's kind of like if you have a match with Dolph Ziggler, it can be Dolph Ziggler against a chair and a blow-up doll, and it's going to be the match of the night. And if it's not, then something's wrong. Then something's wrong with that chair and blow-up doll, because Ziggler's that good. And just like Ray Park is that good. And there's even a story when the part where his saber gets broken in two, the original plan was for him to have a saber in each hand. And he told them, no, I'm not going to do that because someone will get hurt.
My God.
Yeah.
Well, did you like that saber battle better than Obi-Wan versus Anakin in the Revenge of the Sith?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. I did for a few reasons. One, because, by God, Hayden Christensen is awful. Awful. And, I mean, that was a good lightsaber battle, but I don't think... It didn't have it wasn't as dynamic, and it was definitely them just in front of a green screen. That, not that there wasn't a whole green screen galore with the other one, but there's just something about the way that Ray Park flips around and does all that made it so unbelievable to watch. It was nothing we'd ever seen before, and the one from episode 3 was essentially the same duel from Return of the Jedi on steroids.
That's true. Can I give you the worst lightsaber battle ever?
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, when Mace Windu leads Kit Edimadu and the other two Jedi, I forgot their names, I'm not even going to butcher the name. And they confront Emperor Palpatine, or sorry, Chancellor Palpatine, and they discover that he is the Sith Lord, and how all these Jedi Masters all just die immediately. I was like, come on.
You know, I actually enjoyed that because at least when it came down to Mace Windu and Palpatine, one, you could see that Mace Windu was the better swordsman.
Yes, no, that is true. But I just he didn't die so easily.
Yeah, well, he got double teamed there, and not in a good way. So that's what happened. I mean, he got his arm freaking cut off. Of course, that's gonna, any semblance of rational thought that you have or battle plan, your arm gets chopped off by a laser sword and it's done. And then you've got Palpatine, who is obviously 10 times more powerful in the Force than Mace Windu. He just one shot and throws him out the window.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The thing about that battle is it was a little slow. And it was slow because Lucas actually made Samuel L. Jackson and the actor who played Palpatine do the sword battle. Because originally they thought it was going to be stunt doubles doing it. And he was like, nope, go. You're doing this. And so that's why it was slower than you would have thought it should have been.
Okay.
But I thought it told a really good story, and I actually liked the slow nature of it because you got the sense that Mace Windu is methodical, he's patient, and he just knows, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. I don't care how powerful he is.
Yeah. Do you know how they're doing they might be doing a Jango Fett, like its own thing or something like that?
I've heard about that.
Would you be interested in a Palpatine, like before he was bad? Because I've read the book about him, and like I skimmed through it, but I don't know. I would just be interested to hear his backstory on a movie.
I think his backstory would be amazing. One of my absolute pet peeves, something that's irked me to no end with the whole Star Wars thing, is the fact that they threw out the entire expanded universe. Yes. Kind of like with Star Trek, I understand why they did it, to give everyone the freedom that they need to tell the best stories, because otherwise the whole films are going to be retconning things left and right. But it still irks them. I read like 40 of those books.
And now it's meaningless.
I'm like, motherfucker, really? You know how much of my money Lucasfilms got from me from those damn books? But yeah, that aside, I think a Palpatine film would be awesome. I think a Yoda film would be awesome, but I think there's a fine line that they need to walk, because now going forward, any books, any TV shows, everything is interconnected. So they threw all the old away, and they said everything from this point forward is interconnected. So some of these things just need to be told in books. Because if you do too many of these movies, they won't be special anymore, and people won't care.
That's true.
And yeah, okay, so we can get away with if we can get a young actor who can do a really good young Harrison Ford impression, a young Han Solo movie would be off the chain. You could even do a Yoda movie as long as they get the CGI better than they did, or they bring back the Muppet.
Oh, come on. The Yoda
like
CGI wasn't that bad.
It wasn't good because it somehow his head got really big. Because seriously, if you compare the proportions of Yoda in Empire and Jedi compared to, well, in Phantom Menace, that was just an awful puppet.
No, I was about to say, like, Phantom Menace was horrendous.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I will say the one thing that I really enjoyed about the fact that Yoda was CGI starting more often in the second movie was you actually got to see Yoda do more than be this little green guy holding a cane.
Oh, I agree. I just think now CGI has come so far. Just think of how much better the Hulk looked in the Avengers versus the two other Hulk films. Just leaps and bounds better. And in the last, since those movies came out 10 some odd years, the improvements in CGI are through the roof.
Yeah.
So he will look better, and I think they'll be able to get the proportions better because his head doesn't need to look like that stupid baby from Family Guy, because that's what his head looked like in Sith and Clones. It was like a football head, and it was huge. But I did enjoy the battle between him and Dracula. That was good.
Do you think they will bring Earth into the new one? Because I heard that as a rumor, and if they do, I would be very upset.
That would be awful. It's in a galaxy far, far away.
Exactly. My point.
A long time ago. I mean, the whole idea, one of the stories behind all this is apparently the whole idea for this, Lucas found this book or something that had the story from the galaxy far, far away. And he was just retelling what he read. That was one of the legends, apparently. Obviously, it's a bunch of crap, but that was the whole in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. If they did show up to Earth, one, they've left their own galaxy. Two, the Earth better either have dinosaurs or be to the point where it's just forming, because that's how ancient the Star Wars universe is supposed to be.
Let's just hope it just doesn't happen. How about that?
Yeah. Let's hope, because that would be
let's be honest. The only reason Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 went as well as they did is because Lucas got lucky, and Lucas was able to bluff this idea that he had this whole ginormous universal concept built, and he bluffed his way through the whole damn thing, which was apparent by the time he saw episodes 1, 2, and 3. So this is why, even with J.J. Abrams, he is my one glimmer of hope that episode 7 will not suck. One singular only glimmer of hope.
Well, a couple of things. One, you're right. There was a documentary that when the original trilogy came out in DVD the first time, there was a documentary with in the set that talks about the making of A New Hope. And when you're watching this, it was so glaringly obvious that Lucas was making things up as he went along. One of the reasons why it works so well is the entire story, the entire thing was based off of the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell. So he's taking a proven story type and he's just following that. So from that standpoint, it's hitting all of these things that we already subconsciously and unconsciously know and love, and is deep within our souls of humanity. So that was one thing. And you're right, too. He lucked out, and he got some great people to help him with the second and the third movie. He lucked into a great cast, and he had Jim Henson working with him on stuff. So you got Jim Henson in the house, and it's going to be great. Rest in peace, Jim. And so, yeah, he lucked out. But then, depending on what interviews you talk to over the years, the tale changed. There was at times after Jedi came out, they asked him about other movies, and he's like, yeah, I've got 2 other trilogies in mind, one that's about Luke's father and one that's about Luke's son. Well, then by the time the prequels came out, no, I only ever had 6 films in mind. Well, sir, which is it? And also, the other thing that really pissed me off to no end, and Bryce, this will probably be the first time you've heard this. Poor Ricky's heard me bitch about this a few times. So he screwed up his own timeline. Think about this. So he had a timeline. He really did. And he gave a whole bunch of information to the guy who wrote Heir to the Empire, who in the Hand of Thrawn, or the Thrawn trilogy, which was kind of the first real set of books that took off. And that Timothy Zahn. He gave him all this information about the Clone Wars and all these notes. And when it came time to write the new films, he threw it out the window. And so you look at episode 1. In episode 1, Obi-Wan is about 20 years old. It said he's supposed to be about the same age Luke was in A New Hope, and Luke was about 18 to 20-ish. So then there's 10 years between that film and Attack of the Clones. So at this point, he's 30. There's then 3 years in between Clones and Sith. He's 33, and he's already a master, and I'm using air quotes, which you can't see, which he never was. In any of the original notes, he was never a Jedi Master, ever. So Obi-Wan is 33 years old. All that stuff goes down. And in between Sith and A New Hope is 20 years. So picture yourself in A New Hope and think about how old Obi-Wan looked. He's supposed to be 53 years old. What kind of hard living did that fool do on Tatooine I mean, is the liquor?
Well, come on. Let's
tough?
face it. He had sand blowing in his face every other day. It's going to make you look older. Also,
no. I don't buy that.
I'm just
It's
giving
booze.
you shit. But anyway, minor point of contention, and this is something that actually came out later, which might explain the fact that Ben may have been a master and just never admitted it. It is common practice for Jedi Masters to become generals in the Republic Army, and he was actually, in the original film, referred to as General Kenobi. So
True,
it is a
but-
possibility. It just may have been something he never wanted to admit.
Yeah, it was just in all the notes that, and I kind of go back to the notes that Lucas gave Timothy Zahn and the early writers of the books. Kenobi was never mentioned as a master, and all the great characters that we may or may not ever get now. Are we going to get a Mara Jade at some point? And is Luke married? And if he is, it better be to Mara Jade. And is Ben around?
See Mara Jade, because they have that whole story about them like turning evil, and then she's aware of it, and then Luke turns to the dark side, but then he becomes aware of it, and I kind of don't know if I want them to go down that road, but
yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting either way.
Well, as what normally happens when we get three people on the same set of mics, the show took a decidedly left turn. We have actually hit the point where we're going to need to take a quick break, so we'll be right back.
Come with me now. Come with me now.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
Hey, it's Cliff Davis from KLCI FM, the best radio station in the world. Coming soon. Stay tuned.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
All right. Hey, that's exactly what people want to listen to. I love this song.
And no, me playing this bumper has nothing to do with me hanging out with these guys for the last 35 minutes. No, I don't want to run ahead at all. No, I'm just playing. All right, folks, we are back. We are live. I'm joined today by Dave and Bryce. Now, at this point, both my kind of normal co-hosts for Finding Common Ground. They kind of trade off when Dave can't be here. Bryce fills in, and Bryce has been doing a great job. And I think we may have just lost Bryce, actually.
I think we did. I was going to say he should be calling back in here in just a second, but I got and I'll have to say it soon when he gets back. But I really got to thank him for stepping up for me with my job changing schedules and all that good stuff.
What?
Hey,
you
back?
are still there.
Yep.
All right. So, hey, I just wanted to say thank you, by the way, for filling in for me in my scheduling changes here on the Finding Common Ground. I really do appreciate that. So.
Hey, it was not a problem. It was a lot of fun.
Good, but you'll still be doing it because I'm still working Saturdays. It just thanks to the snow, we're opening late, and hopefully not at all. Knock on wood.
You're still secretly hoping they call you and say, "Never mind."
I'm not gonna lie. I love my job. I really do. But today would be an awesome day to just sit around and do nothing. But
every day would be an awesome day to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Just saying.
So during the break, we were actually the three of us were talking about potential subjects, and Bryce has some stuff he's going to bring up on his show later today on Opinion Nation, and he wanted to get Ricky's and my takes on it, and one of them was standardized testing. And of course, as we're talking about that, like a doofus, I think we're back on the air, and so I'm starting to go on a semi little monologue about it before Ricky says, so we're about to come back from break. I was like, wait, what? So yes, it's been a while since I've done this. I apologize.
Well, to be fair, we've modified a couple things since the last time you've done this. I've actually figured out how to kind of, remember how when we were using the BTR setup, we would like throw ourselves in a conference room and chat while the commercials were playing? Yeah. I figured out a way to kind of simulate that using this setup, which is why you had no idea that we weren't live because you couldn't hear the commercials.
So Bryce said he had a concern that standardized tests were not good, and what's your concerns on them? Why don't you tell us?
All right, so I feel that the whole and I know I'm a liberal or whatever, but I think that Common Core curriculum and this idea that everybody gets tested on the same exact things because everybody is the same is a horrible way to teach education in this country. And I think that when you take a test, right, and you pretend that, it's a standard test. And the idea was actually implemented in the 1900s, the early 1900s, because the large majority of the people going to school were white and males. So, and they were also largely from the same socioeconomic background. But now we have all different diversity of school populations. We have more girls than boys. And the point is it's been diversified. And we're going to pretend that everybody's the same still. And we can see that it's racist, or excuse me, it's prejudiced based on who has more money because those kids can prepare more. And the New York Times actually released a diagram, a graph of who does best on tests, and then they did a graph underneath it of who does best on which. There's basically your score compared to your socioeconomic income, and the trend was almost exactly the same. And I know so many kids in my school, at least, that they're not looking to become mathematicians. They're not looking to become scientists. They're looking. They want to be a mechanic. They want to be a auto body shop. They want to be a woodworker. They want to join the army. They want to do things that aren't math science related. And I think we don't foster creativity. We foster how good can you do on a test, and that's what bothers me.
And that's you make an excellent point. I'm one of those people that I believe in there are certain standards that should be across the board, but they should be just basic standards that says something along the lines of, okay, students by this age to go from this grade to this grade should be able to do A, B, and C, and then let the states and the districts figure out the best ways to test people for those. And if they come up with their own standardized tests, or if there's a set of standardized tests for different parts of the country, then that's fine. The way that they're developed, they need to make sure that they are as, I guess neutral, best word I can use, as possible, to make them just very generic. So hopefully they make sense to everyone. And you're right. Standardized tests are a bugger because some people don't test well. They do really well in everything else, but they do not test well. And that's me. So really one thing, as apparently I did not realize how young you were, Bryce, but as you prepare for college in your applications and everything, you're just gonna have to play up everything else that you do extremely well. And luckily, colleges don't just look at tests and go, okay, no. Yeah, so that's a good thing. And the whole Common Core is a mess. And again, I'm someone that I'm absolutely for the idea. What, Ricky?
Common Core is the devil.
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that, but I definitely think the idea of having standards for a kid to go from 3rd grade to 4th grade, for example, they should be able to do this. And then let the states figure out how best to test their students for that. As long as the students have the skills down, I don't care how it's tested. And that's the thing that we really need to have more of, is we need to have a national standard, but a national standard that's given with local control. That the national standard says to the states, okay, we need to make sure your students are getting to this point. Figure out how to do it. And that would be the best way possible. It's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's very similar to, there's an economic theory called distributism that is, interestingly enough, comes from some Catholic scholars way back in the day, but it's called the third economic theory. And the whole idea behind it is the capitalism works when there are more capitalists, meaning more people have control and more local, regional levels. It's not very pro huge, massive corporations. It's more, let's get things localized. Let's get things regionalized. And that's something I really, at least in theory, I think is a great idea, and I would love to see more of, because these big multinational corporations have ungodly way too much power. But with something like education, and with dealing with the federal government, I think it's more than reasonable for the federal government to come out and say, okay, we've done this research, and with these scholars and these teachers, these are the standards that we've pretty much been able to come together on and say, by this age, by this grade, you need to be able to do this. You guys figure out a way to make it work.
But my question with that, and this goes back to an issue that we had about this same time last year here in our home state, should it be only the benchmark testing that decides whether or not the students can basically demonstrate the proficiency skills? Because one of the biggest issues that we had here is, there were, I think they may be going back to them again, but there were standardized testings that were required before children. I think it was from 3rd grade to 4th grade. They had to pass certain tests, and they had to pass with a certain percentage, or they weren't allowed to promote to the next grade. And one of the biggest complaints from the teachers and everybody else is there are a pretty good percentage of children who have basically test anxiety, or they don't test well. But the teachers, from watching them in class and looking at their daily work, can verify that the children are proficient in the skills that they need. They just bomb the test because they hate testing. So that's my biggest issue with standardized testing. My other issue with the cookie cutter approach is we have all of these tests that they use mainly around like employment places, where they say, take this test to find out how best you learn. If we have all of these different learning styles, and we know that everybody learns differently and at different paces, and some people learn better by reading, some people learn better by listening, some people learn better by doing, why can we not start designing our education system around that instead of making everything a cookie cutter approach? I don't understand.
True. And let me pose this one. I'm not going to try to blow my own horn or brag here, but I'm 16.
Usually people that say that...
What?
I said, usually people that say that wind up doing exactly what they say they're not going to do. Just kidding. Wait, did you say 16? I thought you were 17. Dang, you're even younger than I thought. Awesome.
But I do this radio show with you guys, and I actually just won the #1 debate team in my county. We went 27-1, and I do all these. Thank you. And I just got on National Honor Society, and I'm doing all these things throughout school, do school government, whatever. But you're going to tell me that because I can't pass a regional math test that I'm not qualified to be in a certain grade or take a certain class? That's ridiculous. Because, I mean, if I can do all these things, I don't see why one test, whether it's I fill in A or B, should determine whether or not I move on. So that's just where I get so frustrated with this stuff. It's that they don't value the practical things, because one day I'm never going to pay my bills and say, oh, shoot, I don't have enough imaginary number bills in my bank account, or oh God, I don't know how to pay this check because I can't use the quadratic formula for this equation. Life doesn't work like that. So it just gets me really frustrated that when you actually do things, they don't matter as much as is A or B the right answer.
Hey, in all fairness, I have to use the quadratic equation almost every day. Okay, no, not really. I'm just saying.
Well, unless you're going into engineering, you're probably not going to use it. It does help. Math does help your brain perform logical tasks and helps your brain organize things in a logical manner. I do not enjoy math. Of all the math, algebra was my favorite, because that actually made sense. You can just plug in numbers with letters and eventually it works. But yeah, no, you're right. And it's frustrating as all get out, but it will, and there needs to be a way, there needs to be a system set up for the people who are in, situations like yours, some kind of exception that if enough teachers sign off on it, then boom, you can go up or something. Admittedly, I don't have all the answers. That is something I would say, let's get a group of teachers together. Let's get a group of educators and whatnot, and have them sit down and kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I agree.
And like for me, my oldest son, Dave, we've talked about some of the issues that he's had as he's been growing up. One of his biggest issues, and if you looked at his test scores, you would have thought he was an idiot. Turns out he was just bored in school. He's one of those guys where basically he learns best with his hands. I mean, you can turn him loose on something and he can figure out how to take it apart and put it back together in about 2 hours. He got so bored with school and with all the other trouble that he was getting into, he dropped out of school. He went and took his GED with no prep time, and he aced it. He missed one question on the whole thing.
Exactly. School's not meant for everybody, and we're not all the same, so we shouldn't be climbing the same tree if we're not the same animals.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, at the primary or the elementary level, I think schools should basically be about the same, because that's when you're learning the essentials. But my question, and something that I never have been able to get a straight answer from anybody at, is, back in the day, high school stopped at about 8th grade. So why can we not kind of use the same general mindset and say, about 6th, 7th grade is probably going to be about the end of your primary education. Starting about 8th and 9th grade, if you want to be starting to funnel into programs where you're still doing book learning for half a day, but you're learning other things for the other half of the day, whether it's the field that you're already pretty sure you want to go into, or maybe you enjoy working with engines or motors or whatever it may be, why can we not start tailoring school to fit the way kids learn best once they get to a certain age, where they're able to start making more, at least for the most part, more intellectual decisions. I mean, you don't want a kindergartner to say, "No, I want to play with Play-Doh all day." That won't work. But
well, the problem though with that is you're talking about, if you're talking about 8th, 9th grade, you're talking about 13, 14, 15-year-olds, mostly 13 and 14-year-olds, and this is the age of my kids, and I love my kids dearly. Oh, actually, they're 14 to 15 now, but especially my son, if he had his druthers, he would never go to school again. He would play on the computer. He would make YouTube videos and play Minecraft all day. And that's what he would do. So I honestly think that having the high school set up the way we have now is the way to go. The thing that they need to do, though, is add more diversity into the high school curriculum, which
I think it should all be academies.
Well, maybe that way, but I'm amazed with the options that, because it's enrollment time for next year, and we've been doing enrollment for the kids, and they both go to their next year. They'll both be at Moore High School, and I'm amazed at the vast number of choices that they have. And again, maybe I'm just lucky, and my kids happen to go to the best damn school district in the state, which I know they do. And I know not everyone has these opportunities, but they've got tons of options. There are VOTEC options. There are options out the yin yang. And there's, granted, there's going to be the classes that bore everyone's pants off. But that's something you just kind of need to learn. Yes, not everyone enjoys history, but by God, you need to learn some of it. Not everyone enjoys government and how the system works. But, I'm sorry, I know when you're 17, 18, 16 years old, it's not as important as your girlfriend or whatnot, but you really need to understand what the hell Congress is. And so from that standpoint, yeah, these people, you need to do these things. Also, there's the whole social aspect of it. The problem is we've, as a society, the pendulum has swung so far in the social aspect that that's what's the most important thing to kids. Because I know when I was in school, the absolute most important thing in the world was what was going on with my friends. Me and my friends, myself, what was happening in our world. I did well in school. I studied. I did my homework. But it wasn't. High school wasn't about that. High school was about who's getting the crap kicked out of them for having a funny haircut, or who likes who and who's dating who and all that hoo-ha. God, I wouldn't go through that shit again if you gave me $1 million. Oh my Lord! So my hat's off to you, sir.
I don't know. I might for $1 million, but only for $1 million or more.
Well, I do feel bad. So, Rick, if you want to bring up net neutrality, I'm ready for you.
No, it's all right. I mean, we're actually about to the point where we're gonna have to change gears anyway. We'll probably save that for next week because there were quite a few things I wanted to get in with that, and I know that you have an entirely different take on that than I do. And honestly, I also just managed to open up the company email and realize that you have a sound clip you want me to get ready, so we'll probably be shutting down here in about 5 minutes so I can start getting prepped for your show here in about 10 minutes.
I have to say I've not been paying attention to net neutrality, but net neutrality just as a general overall concept, I am absolutely for.
Yeah.
But I don't want. Yeah.
See,
but I'll let you guys get into that some more.
Well, I mean, I guess we can talk about it for a minute or so, and then we'll just get into it more next week. My biggest issue with all of it, I mean, I understand the concept, and on the face of it, it actually seems like it's the best idea ever. But when has the government actually taken something that sounded like it was a good idea and managed to do something with it that was worth the damn and didn't wind up causing more issues than it ever meant to solve? Point and issue, Obamacare.
You know what? But the thing is, these internet providers, they could make fast lanes right now for everybody, and the idea of charging people more to get faster internet, well, it's going to discriminate because we're going to have these low-income areas who are inevitably going to get the slow lane, and then, so, I mean, that's a big issue. But second of all, no one wants to pay more for the commonly used websites, and even those websites that would say that they would be paid more for, such as YouTube, Facebook, have all put money out there saying we don't want net neutrality to end, because then they would ultimately lose business because I'd just go over to Vimeo. I wouldn't watch YouTube.
Well, the whole idea of the internet needs to be this open playground, and internet providers need to just provide an open spigot to everything.
Okay, but do you really think that's what's going to happen now that we've turned it over to the FCC? I mean, let's get real for a minute.
Well, okay, so it's who would you rather have in control? A handful of corporations whose main concern is the bottom dollar and their stock prices,
or a panel of 5 people who are more concerned with how many different licensings can we charge for now.
Afraid that they're the same exact thing, though, the corporations and the government. So I don't know.
Yeah, true. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of rich people who are telling everyone else what they can and can't do. and how much they're going to get charged for it.
I mean, this is what concerns me about net neutrality. In essence, now we have made this a regulated public utility, which ultimately gives the government full control, whether anybody wants to realize that or not. The other issue is eventually it will get down to the argument where bits are bits, because now pretty much everything that, whether it's TV, streaming content, websites, it's all coming in through fiber optic cable. They're eventually going to be able to make the argument that bits are bits are bits. And eventually they'll start being able to bring regulations into things that never should have been there in the first place. Like, eventually we won't be able to cuss on this here radio show because the FCC will fine us. And it's going to happen.
That is okay. That's taking the slippery slope argument pretty far, and that's where
we just turned the internet over to a government that can't build a flipping website. This is not going to end well.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we can correlate those two fairly, but
right.
I do understand that in all reality that the government is not going to be as
scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Just saying. All right, we actually are going to have to shut things down so we can change gears because I've got to do a little bit of work before he goes live in 10 minutes. So,
no, you're going to keep talking to me, damn it.
No, I'm not, damn it.
Son of a... You know, the one day, we got to shut down early. One day I'm here.
If you want, I invite you on my show. I mean, or Rick, whoever wants, if you guys want, because I don't have...
I mean, if you've got time to hang out, I'm sure he'll let you come hang out on his show.
Actually, I do need to start getting ready for work.
That's kind of what I thought, so quit bitching.
Oh, shut your pie hole. Just giving you a hard time. God. This has been fun. So yeah. So real quick, so where can everyone find everybody else on the interwebs and all that good stuff?
What do you mean?
What if people want to contact you, Bryce? How do they do so?
Okay, so definitely hit me up on Twitter at RobinsBryce. That's ROBINSBRYCE, or at the usual at OPNAT News, OpNat News, or on Facebook, Opinion Nation News. That's where you can find me.
And Ricky, where can folks find you if they so want to do so?
Of course, Facebook, www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Also on Twitter at @double_R_OKC, or hit me up on the emails at Ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com.
You seriously got to get rid of those underscores. Those are awful.
Shut it.
And
I like my underscores.
Everyone can find me on the Twitter at Oklahoma Lefty. I got links all over the place. If you want to read a really kick-ass music blog, head over to oklahomalefty.com because I write about the good tunes there. And don't forget, Mondays, you should check out my wrestling show here on the Spark Radio Network and K98talk.com. It's Around the Ring. You can hit me up at aroundtheringok@gmail.com. Send me an email or pretty much take that Around the Ring OK, put an @ in front of it. That's me on Twitter. Throw it on the end of Facebook. You'll find me there. And aroundtheringok.wordpress.com is the official website. Someday I'll get a decent URL for that. It's better than an underscore, though, I got to say.
Or you could just finish putting the blog on the Spark webpage.
I'm working on that, but it's still, you're going to have to show me how to do that without it looking like just the Spark webpage with my logo on it, because that looks like ass.
Well, I told you we're going to have to just change the whole layout. You have the access to be able to do that, though.
Okay. Well, I don't like WordPress, so you're going to have to help me out there, sir.
The kind of help you need, I can't afford. Neither can you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because, I'm on a librarian's salary. Lord knows I can't afford anything.
Hey, I don't know. Also, you're now in good company, like Noah Wiley. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Not that kind of librarian. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a Facebook page for the Common Ground. It's kind of where this whole mess started. So if you're so inclined, head over to facebook.com/Common Ground political page. Give it a like. And I actually wrote a somewhat lengthy piece on there this week. So
first mistake. It was
you
lengthy.
Check it out.
Nobody reads lengthy.
Oh, I know, because people are stupid.
I mean, good news is Opinion Nation on Facebook actually had a surge. It's now up to 440 likes. I was so surprised.
Wow.
Nice. Good job.
That's awesome.
I know. I was like, wow.
That's awesome. Well, let's keep that up, folks. Keep checking out Bryce's digs. And thanks for putting up with me guys today. This was fun.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back in the chair, sir. Next time I'll remember to hook up the electrodes.
All right. Well, so we're out of here. Ricky's got to do some work to get ready for Bryce. Bryce will be back here in about 8 minutes. And hope everyone has a great week.
All right, you guys take care. We are out as soon as I can find the off button. Nice. Wrong screen. Take care, guys. We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes with Opinion Nation, and then I'll be with you later this afternoon. Going to be doing a little bit shorter show than usual for a Saturday because still recovering, and I still occasionally sound like I smoke 4 packs a day when I really haven't smoked in 8 years, but hey, who cares? Anyway, we'll be back in a little bit, folks. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Come right back here in just a few minutes for Bryce.